What is up, y'all? This is not your average reaction or Mrs. Snowflake. I'm just a guy who likes to react to health and fitness stuff, and usually it's around girl world, but today I thought I would take a look at the YouTube channel Counterpoint. They have a video titled, "Is Being Overweight a Choice? Gym-Goers versus Body Acceptance." It's about an hour long. We'll see how far I get into it before I can't handle it anymore. But yeah, I just thought this would be interesting. I haven't really kept up with any, body positivity, health at every size people besides the most recent one was probably J-Bay being arrested, and I didn't even cover it, but I did watch it. But before we get started, I will have to say I am quite biased when it comes to this. I do think to a certain degree being overweight is a choice, but the systems set up in our society definitely do not help or promote health, exercise, or longevity. Especially when you consider, food deserts and lack of education and just a lot of other things to consider. Obesity isn't a one thing problem. It is a multi-facet issue with lots of moving parts and lots of potential reasons why we are where we are right now as a society with our health and weight. So I think that's all I gotta say. Oh, well, yeah, you guys, I'm biased. I have a degree in physical education, teacher education, so I'm trained to be a PE teacher. I was a personal trainer for over 10 years. I think that exercise is medicine. I think that exercise helps people mentally. And yeah, I hold a lot of value when it comes to exercise in general, and not just lifting weights. It's exercise in general, however you want to get it done. So without any further ado, you guys, I got it at 1.5 speed with the subtitles on, and let's check it out.
People that do not go to the gym or have like a healthy lifestyle are lazy. So far from beyond what I actually live.
I work 14-hour days and I still manage to go to the gym. It'll take a toll on my sleep sometimes, but I have to be willing to take accountability and say, I was lazy at this.
I know a lot of fat folks in my sphere like to reclaim the word fat instead of using words like morbid or obese. They prefer the word fat, and I prefer the word fat because it describes what I am, not a category that doctors are putting me in to describe how sick I am.
Welcome to Counterpoint. I'm your host, Ryan. On this side, we have gym-goers, and
That's an interesting perspective.
on this side, we have supporters of body acceptance. Being fat or skinny is a choice. We'll start by having people that agree come up now.
Now, obviously, we're disregarding any sort of medical issues that genuinely do prevent people from gaining or losing weight. But even if you do have some sort of thyroid problem, that is fixable, you guys.
So I was a wrestler my whole life, constantly dieting my whole entire life. I mean, at this point,
You can tell he's a wrestler.
now I'm not wrestling anymore, so I don't have to worry about it as much. But I think it just comes down to the fact of it's just a calorie deficit. You want to consume less than what you're burning. Some people might have it easier. I'm not saying that, like some people might find it harder to lose weight. Some people might find it easier.
In your experience with the wrestling thing, did you always lose weight when you went to the...
And so a lot of the fit people, if they haven't been fat before, they're not going to be able to come from a perspective of being overweight and dealing with those issues that I don't even know or can really put my brain, like I can sympathize and I can try my best to see from another person's perspective, but I'm not actually them living it. So, at the end of the day, I really do not know. And most of these people are going to come from that same perspective, you guys.
Calorie deficit, or was it different each time?
100%. It might have been, a little too extreme to where it got to the point where it might have been a little unhealthy. But, at the end of the day, I was losing weight, and it could have been because I had a better metabolism than some people. I could have had an easier route, but at the same time, anybody can lose weight if you just put your mind to it.
Okay, and what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely a choice. Excluding all the rarities, thyroid conditions, things like that come up in general.
Right.
I definitely think that it's everyone's personal choice. Some people do have it harder. I myself, I have a really hard time.
Women have it harder. Women who are going through menopause or have gone through menopause have it harder. People with thyroid problems have it harder. People with you know, autoimmune disorders, you know, it's hard. It is.
Gaining weight, super easy for me to kind of drop weight, slim down. But if you're trying to pack on muscle, I feel like I'm eating nonstop constantly.
Yeah, I mean, how much are you eating per day? Like, is it a lot?
I don't count my calories. I just have a rule: if my stomach doesn't feel full, I have to eat.
Okay, fair.
He looks like he would eat at max 3,000 calories, maybe 2,500.
And how about you?
Yeah, no, I agree with the majority of what you've said, you know, that you can change your diet and really control what your weight does. You know, I've watched it happen with my own body over the course of my life. I shared my office with a nutritionist for a year and listened to him talk about things. And, you know, it is very true. You can control that. And there are different genetic effects that can have a play on things, or different conditions that people might have, like you mentioned. But I think we have to also mention the way that our food system is structured right now. Our food system is designed to keep people unhealthy and to keep.
Correct, right. And that's my point as well. While it is a choice, things definitely are not set up in a way that it makes it easy, intuitive for every single person to make the right choice.
People fat and overweight, and to try and make people sick and put them into the medical system, where then they can fall into the insurance system. Like we have a system that is stacked against people being healthy. If you look at what people looked like with what they were eating when they ate whole foods, you know, 75, 100 years ago, maybe even less. You know, I think it really started after World War II, when they learned how to prepackage foods with a bunch of preservatives to get at the front lines, and that changed the way that our processing of foods was done. And I think since that point,
I think that's also when kibble was introduced, like to feed animals, was like it was originally maybe designed to feed the dogs out at war. And I'm a person, I understand, you know, kibble is affordable. I don't own a dog, and when I dog sit dogs, I'm going to feed them kibble, you know, whatever the owner tells me. But if I were to own a dog, I think I would want to just feed it normal food. I've seen countless animals have skin issues, itching, rashes, and you're just popping Apoquel every single day and it's not even working. And yeah, could you guys imagine eating like a high protein cereal without milk every single day for your entire life? Like, that can't be good. It cannot be good. And that's what I compare it to. It's literally just a high protein cereal, but probably worse.
it's become the commodization of the American people. I mean, we're essentially cattle being farmed for all of these different services to compound and rake us for money.
Okay, and I think that's a good time to bring in the rest of us.
I think that there's, like you were saying, there's so many disadvantages and ways of privilege that some people don't have access to, like transportation, healthy foods. If they struggle with their mental health or physical health for any reason, they can't get access to the same kinds of foods to say.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with that to a certain extent. You could also see in places like, you know, in the state of whatever, or even in your county, you can see which places have the highest life expectancy, and more often than not, it directly correlates to how much money the area has. Like, for example, I live in Shelby County. It's kind of the area presiding over Memphis and a couple other places. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Oh my God. I'm gonna have to go back.
Advantages and ways of privilege that some people don't have access to, like transportation.
Oh yeah, so like I recently moved from Ellendale to basically a place called Collierville, and Collierville has the highest life expectancy here in Shelby County, most likely because this area is the area that holds the most wealth.
And healthy foods. If they struggle with their mental health or physical health for any reason, they can't get access to the same kinds of foods to stay healthy or to stay thinner. Just for medical conditions, personally, I have POTS, which makes
It's really hard for me. Like, I understand food deserts, but I think that affects a very small percent of the population. But it's like, I always argue with people like, yeah, food is definitely not cheap, but rice and beans and basics like that are not expensive, right? You can get full and nutritious off rice, beans, and turkey, okay? It becomes, I think, an issue when you try to create full, elaborate meals or you're eating out every single day. I think that's when it becomes kind of not financially manageable.
hard for me to exercise.
Because again, rice is very inexpensive. Rice and beans are so cheap, you guys.
And also I need a lot of salt. And when I am thinner, it's harder for me to stay hydrated, so I pass out then. But all those reasons,
That's interesting.
it's hard for me to believe that it is a choice.
Okay, can you kind of explain like what POTS is?
Yeah, POTS is posture orthostatic tachycardia syndrome.
Okay, yeah. I didn't even clock that she said she had POTS. That makes sense.
And what that means is when your heart rate rises because your blood pools, and so then you pass out. But it's really important to stay super hydrated and have salt in your system to regulate your blood pressure.
I also have a medical condition called PCOS, it's polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it makes it difficult to lose weight as well. I'm not blaming me being a bigger gal over that by any means. Also, one thing I cannot control is how tall I am. I'm really short, and that's also a part of this body acceptance thing. It's like, that is something that I can change with only one.
I think like body positivity and, acceptance is for things like this, like things that you can't change. When you're a burn victim, car accidents, losing limbs, like things like that, not necessarily eating yourself into super morbid obesity like Amberlyn
Thing, and that's wearing heels. And it's not the most ideal way to live, but like this is the body that I was born in and the body that I'm so accepting of other people's bodies, but it's like accepting my own without changing so much about it. It's really difficult.
I think it all comes down to whether or not we have free will. In today's society, we don't have access to knowledge. And so a lot of us don't realize the foods that we're eating is bad, whether or not.
I would kind of disagree with the access to the internet. I think we have an abundance of access to knowledge, and I think that alone becomes daunting because you're paralyzed by so much information that you don't know what to believe, how to figure out the truth, things like that. But I definitely do think we have the information available to us.
You are eating healthy or you're eating like ramen noodles every day. We truly don't know what's in our foods unless you have that ability to break through that barrier of this is me, which a lot of people don't, especially in poverty. Like we don't have access to therapy, stuff like that. Like trauma can make a huge barrier between self-awareness and blaming the world. And so a lot of people just blame the world and they can't accept accountability, which could literally be impossible for them.
If I have somebody that I have to rely on to buy all my food and supplies, then at that point, you don't really have a choice. It's not like an 8-year-old can petition for emancipation. He's kind of stuck under the guidance and values of his parents.
Yeah, that's true.
As an adult, I guess it's different, but yeah, definitely as young children and even the teenagers, it's not as much of a choice.
What else do you think makes it not a choice for them?
Gosh, I think of like when I'm like in front of really good food, and just being like a foodie in general, like trying different restaurants. Food is how I bond with people too. Like it's in our society. You go to a restaurant.
I can understand that. Bonding over food to me isn't about eating the same thing. It's just about eating anything together. Like bonding over a meal to me is like making a large dish and you put it in the middle of the dinner table and everybody gets to scoop it out and, eat on their plate. That's kind of what I think about it. Not necessarily like being like, yes, this food is so good. It's just being in each other's company while you eat.
You eat as much food until you're so stuffed you can't eat anymore. And that is how I...
And see, I don't like that. I don't like to eat so much that it feels like if I drink a sip of water, I'll, vomit or anything like that. I don't like to be uncomfortably full. I don't like to be so full I feel like I need to unbutton a button on my pants, I like to be comfortable.
Eat almost every day, and it feels like I don't have the free will anymore. It freaking controls me. And to get up and have that same energy to go to the gym is really hard. Where I'm like, the easy thing is to do the, eating until I can't no more. And
you really have to work hard to find something that you actually enjoy, and you need to dedicate yourself to doing that thing for at least 2 months. That way you build the habit, and over time it's not going to be daunting at all. An example could be when I first started making YouTube videos. I'm like, the reason I started was because I keep hearing YouTubers say that YouTube algorithm really likes consistency. And I'm like, I can be consistent. Consistent is absolutely one thing I can be. And so you just start figuring out how to make the videos, and it would take me 5, 6, 7 hours to make the worst video ever with no edits, just because you're figuring it out. But then over time now I can crank out in less than an hour. It's just kind of how like learning new things or like new behaviors is just kind of like that. And the more you like teach yourself things and prove to yourself that you can learn and change, the easier it is to do more things in the future. Change more
Maybe that
things
does make
about
it
yourself.
a choice in a way, but I feel like I don't have the free will to make that choice.
That makes sense. Do you think a lot more people are feeling that like that too?
100%. Like, it's something that I can control. If I'm going to choose a salad, you bet I'm going to put a bunch of dressing on it to make it taste better. Or the burger just looks so good, like here, I absolutely am going to eat that compared to the salad. I don't feel like I have control.
See, there's always a disordered thinking when it comes to talking about weight loss and salads and burgers. You can lose weight eating the burger. You do not have to eat a single salad to lose weight. The only reason people think, oh, I have to eat the salad is because traditionally lettuce has like no calories. But when you add all the things and all the dressings at the end of the day, sometimes salads can be quite a lot of calories. And in fact, most of the time, the ones at like McDonald's are more than their like simple burgers. So part of it, again, is like re-education or reframing these thoughts that you villainize certain foods and glorify other certain foods as being healthy or unhealthy, when in reality, you're a person who's healthy or unhealthy and the food is nutritious. And you just got to figure it out for yourself. Like, have the burger, but like cut it in half, you know? Like, eat whatever you want, you guys, but have control
Over it, that it does not feel like a choice. It does also feel good. Like, the endorphins hit me and I'm just like freaking dopamine high. I guess I could be addicted to crack. If my food is my addiction, which it is, I wrote like long like notes in my phone about how bad.
You know, I do think that everybody to a certain extent is addicted to something. I think I'm addicted to like self-improvement. And some addictions look a lot worse than others. You know, some addictions you can see from the outside, some you can't, some may have positive benefits to your health, some may not. And yeah, obviously when you're anorexic or super morbidly obese, those addictions you can physically see, but you know, some are a bit more silent. Oh my goodness. My light is falling. Okay.
My food addiction is. Like, it doesn't feel like a choice. Like, but there's no place to go, like food rehab, right? It's not treated the same. It's just you're fat and that's your choice.
There's inpatient, right? That is food rehab, 100%, right?
Get up, you lazy thing.
It's
Terrible.
the easiest coping mechanism.
Right.
You know, like I remember having a bad day, like almost weekly. The thing was I would go when it was a bad day and I would hit a Taco John's and grab, you know, a big giant grilled stuffed burrito and the pound of potato Olays, a bunch of extra seasoning, you know, because that was like like the same feeling people describe of like having a cigarette when they've been craving it kind of thing. It's like just that release of like, okay, it just set that calm across your whole body kind of thing.
Can I ask you three a question that disagreed?
Yeah.
Do you guys find that sometimes it's a lack of discipline more so than a choice, which can sometimes enable you into making further bad choices? I find myself with those similar struggles on things outside of the gym. How do you guys feel about that?
There's a fine line between discipline and free will, and it all just comes down onto your neural pathways and whether or not you have the capability to.
This girl's kind of rubbing me the wrong way because she's like she's using like buzzwords like neuropathway, but I highly doubt she's about to go in depth to like really touch on what she's talking about. There is a certain truth, I'm sure, to what she's about to say, but I don't know, girl.
Wire your brain to be like, okay, I can eat this. You know, you can have the Taco Bell, but you have to balance it out with something. Too much of anything is an addiction. If you're constantly eating healthy food, once you get a bite of, you know, Thanksgiving turkey, you're going to overindulge. And I've experienced that myself.
Specifically with going to the gym, like that is a discipline that I highly admire in people like you. Truly. I tell myself I don't have the time. I'm doing other things. I'm working. I don't think I would have the dedication.
Yeah, you always have to, if something's important to you and you say you don't have the time, you have to reframe it to, I'm just not making the time for it. That way you're not giving yourself an easy way out and you're being a little bit more honest with yourself. Like, I'm not making time for it because it's clearly not important to me. You know, don't say I don't have time, because we can all make time.
That it takes. Going to the gym is a choice. And you guys, I mean, I'm glad that you do, but it's also like not my thing. I've tried it before and I don't have the discipline to stay consistent with it. So I think
a lot of people who end up enjoying the gym are people who were athletes in the past, and it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe just searching for that same sort of feeling, because when you're an athlete, you exercise every day, you go to practice and you get your heart rate up. And so maybe to a certain extent, that is a big reason why me and a lot of other people like to exercise, and it sticks super easily. And that's also why you've got to try hard to find something that you enjoy. You don't have to go to the gym, play pickleball, a basketball league, but a one time a week pickleball isn't enough exercise, right? You have to do something pretty regularly and consistently. Go outside and walk, play Pokemon Go. There's tons of things that you can figure out to do.
That's a good point, Gabe.
Sure. Yeah, I think for me it comes down to discipline. I've been through the points in time in my life where, I've been what you would consider 1% as far as physical condition, and I know that at this point it is a discipline thing. Last year, my wife and I did a 90-day challenge, and I lost 50 pounds in 90 days. So I know if I make the choice to do the things, good things happen. So for me, I believe it is a discipline thing, but that it can very well be my privilege. It's not, I have the means to be able to do it if I want to or choose not to. And like you said, food is a social thing for me. I have, just today, I had an all-you-can-eat buffet after a work event. I have at least 3 work meals every single week that are all-you-can-eat buffets, because that's our culture. I'm constantly working with people. It's just part of my job to ensuring other people having meals and enjoying themselves. And food is also like my art form. I have a commercial kitchen in my home because I just love to experiment with food, making all kinds of homemade things. The pandemic was an awesome time because we got to make so many homemade things. I just love to deal with food. And so I've always had a problem with weight because, yeah.
I just think back to access and how you were talking about how sometimes there are folks that are privileged and can access those kinds of things. But for me and how I grew up, I know that we didn't always have a ride to the food pantry. And even if we did, the food pantry doesn't offer nutritious food a lot of the
Right. I worked for the YMCA and UT Medical for this program called the Pediatric Obesity Program, or POP. It was a short program, less than a year, where they invited families that were in a specific demographic as far as how much money they made and if they were at risk for type 1 or type 2 diabetes or already had it. And we would offer these free classes to them and their children where they would learn how to make healthier choices. We would give, a verbal lecture on something, and then we would physically make something that's a healthy popcorn or, whatever it be. Excuse me. And also teach them how to exercise. And so there are things, programs in place, but the people who need it most are usually the ones who never see the ad for it. So, but there's programs that are trying, you guys.
times. Also, not only transportation, there is that mental block. There's also physical blocks if you are differently abled and not able to make it to the gym or make it to the store. All of those things are really prevalent in the back of my mind because I've experienced a lot of those things. And so I think it's really important for me at least to remember where I come from and then also the privilege I have today to make more choices than I ever could.
I totally get the access because it seems like healthy food is the most expensive anytime you go to the grocery store. And so, I totally understand the access point.
And when he says this, I think that people mean organic, right? Because I don't think fresh fruits and vegetables on their own are more expensive than the unhealthy foods, which are the pre-made meals, the pre-made pizzas, all that stuff. I argue that it's significantly less. Now, is the organic stuff expensive? Absolutely. But you don't have to buy organic to be healthy, and you don't have to buy organic to lose weight. And most of the time, some of the organic stuff can kind of be a scam, thinking maybe bananas or pomegranate, maybe, I don't know, watermelon, stuff with a really hard outer shell, I'm thinking.
I just want to go back. I mentioned before, I wrestled my whole life. I was not a healthy eater. Try telling a 13-year-old he can't have, a cookie tonight or anything like that. And so, when I was going to high school too, for lunch, I was eating an Uncrustable, and I'd always get a chocolate chip cookie. And so, it's possible. Like I said before, as long as, you're not, you're burning more.
And see, that's the difference is he's doing that and then going to wrestling, and these other people are doing the exact same thing but aren't exercising. That's it. And I would have to agree. When I was in high school, I would have like chicken nuggets, a big cookie, chocolate milk, fries. Like, it was not healthy. I don't think I had a single vegetable at all, you know? And it's just because I had to go to soccer practice every single day after school.
Calories than you consume, you're going to lose weight. So at the end of the day, I always think it's a choice. And it's not even like going to the gym. I mean, if you consume a lot of calories during the day, then you're like, man, I'm stuffed. I need to go burn a couple calories. You can just go for a walk. I mean, go outside, go for a run.
Right.
And you would lose weight. And so, I mean, I'm still on the side where I believe it's a choice.
Again, barring medical conditions, every nutritionist I've ever spoken with has always said it really is as simple as how it's being put. I don't say that to cast any negativity, but more so to just spread like, hey, it is possible. And I don't want to enable anybody's mind to think that it can't be done. More as a real positivity thing. Like, you absolutely can do it. And I'll accept that it's certainly harder for some folks, but.
I like how he's framing this because, yeah, a lot of people would like take offense at the way that he's framing it.
Possible.
Kind of going back to some of the talk about children and stuff earlier, we've made a really conscious decision to make sure that our children are a lot more educated about food, and they understand right now, like, hey, what you're eating is not really healthy, and so they are making the conscious choice, and they understand that right now at their age their metabolism is allowing them to get away with the things that they're doing. We've also seen one of our children very much struggle with their own body acceptance a lot and have a hard time with that, with a lot of bullying and issues and stuff, and so watching them go through that, and we've helped educate them, and they've helped improve themselves in ways that they wanted to. I feel a lot more empowered now with everything I have access to. Speaking to what you said about knowledge earlier, I was a kid I was born in '85, so a lot of the stuff coming out back then was new. A lot of these packaged foods were just coming out with a lot of the newest, fanciest oils and all the other nonsense that they have in them now. And so I feel like as a parent now we do have that choice a lot more to actually educate ourselves if we want to. But the problem is there's not a good way to determine if the data is actually factual nowadays. You can go out there and find actually absolutely contradictory sources from fully highly credentialed, PhD level, completely contradicting in the nutrition space. And so it's really difficult to put the onus on people again when you have a system that is designed to confuse and designed to try and keep people addicted. At the end of the day, it's like so many of our other vice systems. Food has become another vice system in our country.
So as someone I just graduated in 23 of high school, and as someone who's worked in elementary schools, I see how obesity has overtaken the system. When I was in elementary school, we did not have snack time. They have snack time multiple times a day. They get to bring their own snacks. And so I see the way that these kids treat each other, and I see the way that they look at food. Being in school too, it's such a structured system. And so when you get the ability to take a break, you overindulge. And so that's just the way our system in America, in the United States, is set up and how it's been set up since the schools were established. And I find it hard to say that we have free will to be skinny or be fat because a lot of parents don't know how to parent their children due to the lack of knowledge. And they choose to shut them up with food.
Fitness can become an unhealthy obsession.
All right. Fitness can become an unhealthy obsession. Absolutely. It can definitely tip from the scales from being healthy to extremely unhealthy very fast. I mean, most bodybuilders, I would argue, are not in great health. They take things to the literal extreme in order to get the best physique possible. And I think there is a medical condition where it's like in between anorexia and the other one, but it's more along the lines of like you're obsessed with making like healthy choices.
As always, we'll have the people that agree come up now.
I know for me, my personal experience, I have struggled with an eating disorder before, and when I was struggling with that, I know that I was eating, we were just talking about like calories in, calories out. I know I was eating less calories than I was exercising out. So I would eat like 300 calories and then I'd burn off 400. And so exercise was a really unhealthy obsession for me at that time. And
that can be a very problematic thing. I think tracking how many calories you're burning is not very consistent. Like you don't need to rely on the calorie deficit more than trying to exercise your way to fat loss. Does that make sense?
I know that a lot of things influence me, such as like social media and the internet and things like the inspiration and
like it shouldn't be I can eat 2,000 calories because I'm exercising today. It should just be your regular, and when you exercise, it's just bonus calories that you're burning.
And on pro-mia sites, but that's what made me think that exercise was the only way to lose weight and the only way to become what I wanted to be.
I don't know if my mom will appreciate me talking about this, but my mom used to be a weight loss and fitness coach. It consumed a lot of her life for like the early 2010s when it was really popular to be in that sort of thing. And it affected me a lot more as a kid, watching her like obsess over working out every single day. and how much weight she was losing. And I was just like really hurt by a lot of it, actually. Just like it's affecting the people around you, especially your kids. It was like, I can't do something right now, or I can't do this because I have to put in my workout. And it's like putting the people that you love on the back burner because of something else, like going to the gym or working out.
Yeah, I think for me,
Definitely, yeah, you can take it to the extreme.
really think to sports, and then for work-related things, whether that's like modeling or military stuff or whatever. I think people can go to some very unhealthy extremes and become obsessed with it when trying to reach some of these goals, and then it can, I think, some of it can go back into some of the mental health with body dysmorphia, where you can have people that have very unrealistic ideals, and you see people with implants that are drastically changing their body, because they're obsessed with not just the fitness but also the look. And so, it's a lot of that internet and what you're talking about with how that culture has been influencing much more and more. And growing up a lot younger, that was not something that we were exposed to. Really in the 80s and 90s, you would have a curated image, and you'd have like MTV and things like that where there was that, but it wasn't exposed and in your face and from uncurated sources and people that are your age but from all kinds of different walks of life. There's not a filter on that, and I think that's how people can get so obsessed with it, because they just have all the access.
So like you said about modeling, I started modeling about 2 years ago. And when I first came in, she was like, we measured myself, and that was all cool. And I see myself as a pretty fit woman. I have been my entire life. I've been this weight for a reasonable amount of time. She measured me and she was like, you're a plus size model. And for a really long time, that kind of just weighed on my conscience. And so I would overly obsess, hitting 5 days at the gym, calorie deficit, all of that. My hair started falling out. I started noticing my skin was breaking out, all of these things. And then again, like I would not be spending time doing the things I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at a certain level, me as well, I think I was taking exercise a bit to the extreme, because I just thought if I do every exercise, then there's no lacking, right? Because I would be so obsessed with, if I don't do incline bench press, then my upper chest will be lacking. You know what I mean? And so I would just end up doing so much in the gym for so long. And yeah, I think it ticked more towards maybe hurting my joints and ligaments because I wasn't feeding myself properly.
Because I was consumed in being skinny. But then I was just like, girl, you look fine. And I think a lot of people don't think that way. But my mom raised me to be a very, very disciplined woman and to see all aspects of life. And I am so blessed to be able to look at myself and truly love myself, but a lot of people don't have that opportunity, and so it continues to be an addiction.
You guys mentioned a good point over there about how detrimental it can be to your family life if it's all you focus on. I wasn't even thinking about that at first, but that definitely can be true. I guess I was kind of leaning towards the rich pianas of people that take things too far, ingest their bodies, and then ultimately it takes their life. And at that point, yeah, it's certainly an obsession that's gone too far. Social media might have a big impact where it'll make someone feel a certain way. People start to inject their bodies with performance-enhancing drugs, things they don't really know what they're putting in their body. It might be some backwoods bathtub concoction that somebody makes, all in hopes to add to that workout just because they think it's going to make them that much better. I feel like there's a certain time last year where I just kept seeing name after name of influencer that, dying, going to the hospital. I mean, I feel like for several months in a row, I saw like 4 or 5 people die. Their heart starts to explode.
Yeah, well, I think that we covered kind of all the range on that, so I guess the time would be now to bring in one disagreeer. So,
After everything that was said, I mean, I pretty much agree with, I kind of agree with the topic now. But
well, could you maybe give us maybe what you were thinking originally when you're thinking like, okay, maybe it can't be unhealthy. Like, what were you thinking?
The thing that I was thinking of is, just the fitness part. I feel like a lot of the things that were said might stem from other things. I mean, maybe like mental problems and stuff like that, or like people were saying social media. I think it could stem from that. I mean, there was a point in my life where I was addicted to going to the gym every day. Like, it was the only thing I looked forward to with my day, and I wanted to go twice a day, 3 times a day, as much as I could. And at that point in my life, I felt better than I ever have. And so, I mean, I was addicted to it, and I felt great. And thankfully, I never, wanted to get bigger, wanted to get stronger, wanted to hop on tests or anything like that and, ruin my life. Things you guys were saying maybe stem from something else. Maybe there's some deeper problems that are going on rather than just fitness and somebody going to the gym caused all these problems.
What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's more the fitness itself or the external factors?
I'd say probably more the external stuff. You're using fitness as a coping mechanism a lot of times to treat whatever it is or try and achieve whatever goal it is, or that kind of thing. And then a lot of the substance stuff, like it comes in as, again, not because somebody's a user, but again because they're just addicted to trying to achieve whatever it is. I don't know. Maybe just in your case it was fitness only, or was the fitness like because you were like, okay, now as a wrestler I feel the best that I ever have, that I'm going to the gym 3 times, or was it just like purely because I'm hitting the gym that it was?
At the point when I started hitting the gym more, it was kind of just purely just to hit the gym. I mean, I was going with my brother and stuff like that, so I mean, I had somebody to hang out with. And then eventually I started noticing changes, and so I just wanted to keep lifting it. It was exciting to me at that point.
Okay, those changes, was that just physical changes, or was it also changing the way you interacted with the world and the way people interacted with you?
I would say a little bit of both.
Oh yeah, when I exercise, you guys, it puts me in a great mood. I feel like I interact with everybody in a more positive way. Not saying I walk around being super negative, but I will say I just don't like small talk some of the time, some of the times, you guys. And I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, the physical changes, of course, that's, I mean, what a lot of people look for, but I mean, it kind of gave me more confidence, made me feel like, you know, if I did nothing during the day but hit the gym, that I accomplished, you know, something during that day. So, I mean, it gave me a lot of rewards going to the gym.
I think it has a lot to do with your gender as well, because men can handle like higher cortisol levels, and women we can't. Like, we're meant to have a little bit of fat on our body because, you know, when in prehistoric times, we were the ones staying in the caves, protecting our children with our weight. And so we would be the ones eating mass amounts of foods. And so when we're constantly raising our cortisol levels, that is just very unhealthy to us, to our brain levels, to our every single nutrient in our body. Like men, you guys can take it, nothing against you guys, but you guys can take it. And I think a lot of people that start their fitness journeys don't know that there is a difference biologically between women and men and how much we can take. So at first I was going 5 days a week and
Very true. Very, very true. Testosterone helps you recover faster, I believe.
like you said, it would give me something to look forward to, and I felt rewarded even when I would do nothing. But it affects our bodies a lot differently, as well as, you know, cold plunges and stuff, like just simple things that like add to the fitness journey. Like women can't do so much of that, and I wish it was like more known that we are not supposed to be putting ourselves through that. But yeah, we just can't handle that.
You said that you started to notice weren't doing anything else for the day, but you went to the gym, that you still felt good about it. At what point of you lacking on your other responsibilities, but you're only going to the gym, do you think it would still be acceptable, or would you start to dog on yourself?
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And, you know, I guess at that point in my life, I was just,
I go to the gym mostly every day. Even if I don't like work out hard, I just like to keep the routine, right? So, you know, on a light day, I may go and walk at a really slow pace for like 30 minutes, and that's that. Do I feel bad if I like have to skip a day? A little bit, but I genuinely get over it, right?
school student, you know, so I didn't really have that much responsibilities to really care about. Or I was in college, you know, and so, I mean, college life, stuff like that, you don't really care about all that other stuff. So, I mean, it didn't affect me that much. But in this point in my life, yeah, if I was on that same, you know, kind of wavelength and going to the gym, not caring about anything else, I think that would definitely take much more of a mental toll on me. So I definitely see what you're saying. Yeah.
Fit people are more attractive than plus-size people.
Gosh, that's a really hard question to answer objectively. How do you define attractiveness? How do you define fit and plus size? It's just subjective to each individual.
Start by having everyone that agrees come up now. But I mean,
Let's see if there's another question. Okay, yeah. I just want to skip this part just because I just think it's kind of dumb.
the word fat is offensive.
Again, kind of subjective. I think more objectively, it shouldn't be offensive, right? It's kind of like a word to describe what's going on with a person. And I think it's like, I forget what they call it, but it's similar to the R slur that people use to describe, like, sometimes neurodivergent people. But originally, there was a word used to describe mentally challenged, right? And it was like moronic, stupid, imbecile, or like words like that, okay? Those words became offensive. And so they switched a medical term to start to use the R slur to describe people. And now the R slur is offensive. And so we're changing the medical term to neurodivergent, maybe. But it's just something interesting to think about how words can evolve over time. They become like more or less offensive. But no, I don't think the word fat is offensive. I don't even think if a person is like, yeah, calling a person fat, if they're fat, is like calling a gay person gay. It's like calling water wet. I just don't find it offensive. I mean,
Start by having the people that agree come up now. The word fat, what about it makes it offensive to you guys?
and I think a lot of the times too, context matters with what people are saying, right?
It is the word that was ever first used to me to describe me in a negative way as a kid. And that's just kind of always stuck with me. I haven't taken it and twisted it into like a positive where you can describe me as fat and I won't see that.
I'm sorry, get over it. The word gay was used as a slur from elementary school all the way up until I was in college. It was constantly used in a negative connotation to describe something that was stupid. But you've just gotta understand that it's a word, context matters, and like even if somebody did call me like the F slur, like very derogatory, the word means gay, and that is who I am. So why should I be offended by that, right? You got to reframe how you think about certain things. That way it won't be offensive. But I can work through things logically like that sometimes.
As offensive, because I do. Like, the first thing that you should use to describe somebody shouldn't be fat or thin at all.
Like, I was wearing a Speedo to Hangout Fest a couple years ago, and some ugly frat dude was screaming the F slur at me from his balcony, and I was like, takes one to know one.
And it again, just sucks that the word fat is used in such a negative connotation that I find it offensive. Absolutely. But
Yeah.
thin isn't used in the same way.
It isn't. Yeah, you're saying like if I was fishing, I was like, oh, like that's a fat bass.
I think the feeder community would disagree.
Like somebody would be like, heck yeah. Or if I'm like, that's a real thin bass, they'd be like, man, that ain't. But then when it comes to like humans, it's the context. It's always given with a negative connotation, huh?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, and what do you think?
Initially, I thought of like our humor, and I think as humans, we bond with humor. One of the first like jokes that I heard when I was younger and that we used to say all the time on the bus is, yo, mama's so fat, whatever, whatever. And I like would be like, before we play this game, y'all better not say that. Because my mom, she's overweight. Everyone in my family is. So I've grown up, that's the immediate target. And those are fighting words. And so I don't think it's just a word. I think it's what surrounds it. And I think as kids, like we're automatically taught that we can make jokes out of people and we can use other people, and regardless of their circumstances, other people's looks as a way of leverage to make the room laugh. And I just think that we need to think about humor in a different way, you know?
And it really does just bring me back to my childhood. I realize that this is not therapy, but it brings me back to like the first time someone was ever mean to me on a playground. It was because I was a chunky third grader and they called me fat. And
I got called fat and overweight when I was in elementary school, and I used it as like motivation to exercise. It's just, I mean, it just depends the type of person I think you are.
it really did stick with me.
Can use it to fuel you, can light a fire under your butt, or you could use it as an excuse to not do anything. When Alexandra Rodriguez copyright struck my channel, I could have just thrown my hands in the air and given up. But we didn't, and we persevered, you guys.
It's so incredibly unkind. And today as a society, we have got to be kinder to each other. And it may not be offensive to somebody else, but you should be well aware of your surroundings and who you're speaking to saying that word, because people do use it as humor.
That makes sense. Now we know kind of where we stand with it. I think it's a good time to bring people that disagree up now.
To me personally, I mean, the fact that we can, use the word and call other things fat makes the word itself not offensive. I think we can all agree, depending on how a person uses the word, it can become offensive. And I feel like that can be said for a lot of words out there. But I feel like the fact, like you were saying, you could say a cat's fat, you could say, a lot of things are fat, and that word is not offensive. I feel like it's just the way you use it.
I think, like you said, though, with it being humans, I think there's a difference there because, like you said, people have feelings. And, like me personally, yeah, I don't find it offensive, but I don't find anything offensive. And so that I have to understand is a me thing, not an everyone thing. So I don't use it because I understand that general societal norm is it's offensive. I understand that. But for me,
I think I agree with what this guy is saying.
personally, it's
This
not.
guy is like my wavelength, I think.
I don't care. Like if you call me fat, yeah, I probably am. Yeah, shit happens.
Y'all, I thought he said the F slur. I did not think he said fat.
I know for me, the word fat is not offensive unless it's directed as a slur. For me, I know a lot of fat folks in my sphere like to reclaim the word fat instead of using words like morbid or obese. They prefer the word fat, and I prefer the word fat because it describes what I am, not a category that doctors are putting me in to describe how sick I am. I know that there's a new movement going around in like the body acceptance sphere that is called fat.
I never really thought about that from her perspective like that. The term super morbidly obese, again, is a medical term, but she's basically saying, it's kind of like offending her, which is why she now likes the word fat. And again, think about the R slur, what I just told y'all, it's just this carousel of words being cycled, it feels like.
Categories, and what it describes is the different levels of privilege you have based on how fat you are. And so there's things like small fat, mid fat, super
Oh God, that cracked me up, you guys. Small fat, super fat.
fat, and death fat.
Death fat.
And death fat was coined in 2008 to describe folks that are so overweight that they're at risk of dying. And so this is a way that we're reclaiming words such as the word queer, how queer used to be used very derogatory as a slur for LGBTQ folks, but now we're saying and identifying as queer to reclaim that word. So that's how I feel about if it's offensive or not.
I have a question. Can you tell me what category of fat I fit in?
So it's based on your shirt size. So if you are a
No
1 or
way.
2X, you are small fat. 3 to 4X, you are mid fat. 5 to 6X, you are super fat. So that is based on what level of privilege
And so anything above a 6X, you are a death fat. All
you have
right.
in the world. So someone in a small fat category may not struggle getting on an airplane, but someone in a mid fat or super fat may not be able to use even the airplane extender. So that's where that comes in, and like the privilege levels of like what fat means to different people.
You think something interesting, like you said, privilege, right? Like, so if somebody is less fat,
That is an interesting word to describe it. Let me look up the actual definition of privilege. A special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular group or person. You know, you could break down that sentence and argue either way, I think. You know, a special right, advantage, or immunity, you know, the right for a thin person to not have to purchase 2 seats on a plane, you could argue, but at the same time, you could also argue that that's not a special right. Either way.
and them being able to get onto an airplane is a privilege, or is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you guys think of that?
You know, a lot of things in life are privileges, and you know, with being overweight, in my opinion, I think that's something you
Is driving a privilege? It's a privilege, right?
can control yourself. So if you feel like you're deprived of this privilege,
Like, not everybody has the right to drive. Like, you have to, like, get a license.
you can change yourself to enjoy that privilege.
At death fat, are people? Is this like what I see on shows, like where people can't walk or things like that?
Typically, it's over a 6X.
Okay.
So it's where people maybe couldn't walk, couldn't get out of bed, couldn't take care of
Bedbound.
themselves. And so that's where you lose that privilege of being able to care for yourself. And that's why you're in the category of death fat, because you are at risk of dying because of your weight.
I feel like when you see the show, like with people that are quote unquote death fat, do you have any knowledge on how people end up at death fat? Like, is it usually a health thing, or is it? Because I feel like I haven't really seen very many people in my life that are at that. You know, it's just sensationalized. Like, could it be related to trauma, something like that?
Absolutely. I think that for me, I can only speak from my own experience, but the reason why I'm fat is related to trauma, related to medical issues, it's related to mental health struggles, it's related to access, it's related to a lot of different things, and could put me in the category.
They seem, sorry, I was about to just assume a gender. They seem like very level-headed. I like the way that they're talking about things, not too
One day being
extreme.
death fat, but I'm trying my best to like become a better person and like have a better mentality and stuff like that. So yeah, I think anyone one day could end up death fat. It's just these experiences you go through and what type of toll that takes on you.
Part of you has to wonder if we're trying to create a society from Wall-E at times with how easy we make it for people to access things, though. Like, that's, you know, you say you don't see people that are death fat. Well, that's because now we have DoorDash and Uber Eats and every other service under the sun. You know, a lot of that was accelerated by the pandemic and being forced to stay at home. People can get everything delivered directly to them now. You know, there isn't that requirement to go out and get it, and so you don't see people that much anymore. And a lot of them may make the choice of like, I don't want to go out because, you know, there's that trauma associated with what if XYZ happens when I'm out because of, you know, my size, and then now, you know, that size becomes the center of attention. Because I think when you're talking about how does somebody get to that point, I think the only way you get to that point is if there's some kind of a mental illness happening for some reason, whatever that is. Like, you don't get there without having, I would think, almost like a desire to hurt yourself. You know, been through some kind of trauma that has you feeling unworthy of something, or like that is the way that you cope with things. Like, there has to be some kind of underlying something that can push you to that point. I don't think you're going to get to that point unless you are really struggling with something and need professional services. Like, and I think that's what we need to just do better with, period, as a country, is professional services for mental health. And
People have been trying to lobby to make insurance companies cover nutritionists and personal training. Could you imagine how good it would be if these insurance companies would cover half of personal training costs? That way most people could at least afford to maybe do a 3-time-a-week training, you know, just to get them in the gym. But Congress don't want to make it happen. I think the American College of Exercise did try for quite a few years to try to get things pushed through, but we're not successful.
You know, I think it helped with a lot of things.
And physical health as well. There are folks that may have something like lymphedema where they cannot move,
It's the American Council of Exercise, sorry.
can't get out of the house, or agoraphobia, which is a mental illness, but it's another reason why people just can't get out and can't move, can't go to the doctor or anything like that. So I think all of those are different reasons why people end up in that category.
You mentioned, like, I guess
This is the first non-stick with no coating. The Titanium Always Pan Pro.
this might not be a term, but the death fit category. You mentioned people that inject themselves, take things to the next level. I mean, it has to be fueled by something similar, right? I mean, if it's on the same parallel, it's just going to a complete other extreme. You think that's
It's a lol cow versus a swole cow.
maybe people that end up doing things like that and end up suffering, fatalities from that? You think they have something similar trauma-based going on?
Obviously, I'm not a medical professional, but I have heard of the My 600-Pound Life, people like that. Watching those shows, I've heard people mention it's a mental thing, and you have some mental issue that's driving just to nonstop eating. And yeah, similarly with the over-obsessive fit people, they have body dysmorphia was mentioned. Those things are also really negative when you're pushed to that limit. And yeah, death fit can absolutely be a thing.
I put myself in some risky situations, and when you're talking about death fit, I went on multiple steroid cycles to try and ascertain certain goals, both in attracting the female gaze as well as mainly trying to ascertain certain fitness levels for what I was doing with the military. And it felt like it was kind of accepted or almost celebrated by the culture. I was doing it at a time where, this was like 2005 to 2007, and so I'm ordering things online from Eastern European places that are being shipped through mail in weird packaging, and I'm taking anabolic steroids, and I'm taking different estrogen blockers, and I'm taking histamines and different things to try and cut weight, and doing all sorts of things to try and achieve what I thought I needed to achieve. There is a little bit of like maybe a mental thing there of me, having such a desire and such a belief that that's who I needed to be, that I had to, the risks that I was putting my body through were worth it. Like I remember during certain steroid cycles where being in a lift.
And that's kind of the process I've always worked through when thinking about doing performance enhancing stuff is the minute you start doing that, the scale starts to tip more towards you want this for the aesthetics, you want this for the non-health related stuff, right? And that's where fitness will start to become unhealthy. Focus on how you move, longevity, and I think that's a more sustainable way.
Feeling like I was about to tear the skin on my arm because of the amount of extra pump that I was feeling through the muscles during it. And that's part of why I don't like the gym now, because I have a lot of trauma with the gym of like how much it was like at one point it was threatening my career. Like I had to get to try and get myself to a place. I was in the 75th Ranger Regiment, so we had a lot of higher expectations, as far as what we had for physical standards. I felt like I had to do this or I'm going to lose my job, and I would rather hurt myself, to keep my job and keep things for my family, because you're single income earner, 23-year-old parent, 22, I guess, when he was born. But you just have to do the things that you have to do. This was all things leading up to when I met my wife. It was all things for me to initially pass the test. So I got in a program where I had a 6-month window before I was actually gonna have to pass it. And so then during that 6-month window, that's when I was doing all these things to try and reach this goal at the end, to get through this hurdle, to actually get through all the physical requirements to get there. And yeah, just put myself through a lot of danger because I thought that's what I needed to do.
To kind of go back to that main prompt, when I'm reading an ingredients list and I say trans fat, saturated fat, nobody stops me and says, whoa, you can't say that. I said the word fat, but nobody, if I say some racial slur, anyone will say, whoa, it's messed up. But if I read those without malice, no problem. I work contract security. Someone comes on toward a property they're not supposed to be, and they say, who was it? What's he look like? I say, it was a white dude, fat guy, he's going northeast. Nobody stops me and says, whoa, you can't say those things. It's just a descriptor. But if I said something like, oh, dude, I hate that guy, what a fat piece. We all know, well, he's intending to hurt them.
This is an interesting topic too, and something that I definitely have tried to be aware of and have cut back on when you're telling stories. And how often is it that describing how the person looks actually affects the quality of your story, their skin color, their hair color. Most of the time it doesn't change anything, so it's kind of unnecessary, and so that's kind of something that I've stopped doing. But yeah, if you are trying to identify a person, you work in security, then that is totally a normal thing to do.
Guy. So there's many situations where the word fat has no malice. It doesn't mean anything negative. It's only what we're applying that's negative.
I am satisfied with my body right now.
Gosh, what a hard question, you guys. Proud but never satisfied. I don't know if that is a toxic thing, but that is just how my mind seems to work. yeah, I always have a goal to reach, whether it be increasing my mobility, flexibility, strength, or the size of my quads and calves.
We'll start by having everyone that agrees come up now. I mean, I guess the only way I can go about this is just saying, what do you love? Why are you satisfied with your body?
Growing up with body dysmorphia and only being seen for my body put me through mental turmoil for so long, being obsessed with the idea of being fit or having a big butt or having a small waist. And then I am so blessed to be able to have an open mind and see I'm literally fine right now. I can choose to be happy right now. And if I end up, getting bigger muscles in the future, I'm okay with that. But for right now, I'm happy where I am, and I don't need to be this or to be that to feel satisfied with who I am right now.
Okay. I guess that's a good time to bring in everybody else. Has there been a point where anybody here was ever?
God, these people, I like this conversation. I think my favorites are them, him, her, and a little bit of the guy on the far right. They're all thinking things through
With where their body was, or has it just been a continuous thing forever?
Yeah, for me, it's been a continuous thing. I'm definitely not as fit.
So when I first started exercising, I wanted a flat stomach and I wanted abs. So I bought the insanity, 90-day thing, and I did it, and I lost weight and I got abs. And then I said, big biceps are super cool. And so then I was like, maybe I should get big biceps. And it just kind of compounds after that. And you're like, nah, I want big calves, big chest, It kind of just goes on and on and on, if I'm being honest.
As I was.
But not in at this point in my life, it's not in an unhealthy way or anything like that.
But even when I was in my best shape, I still felt like I could be a little bit better. And it could be a bad thing, it could be a good thing. At the same time, I think once you become comfortable in something,
I think leaving room for knowing there's always a little bit of room for improvement, I think is a decent enough mindset.
that's when you stop improving. And so to me, it's always good to be uncomfortable.
I think for me, it's probably just been that struggle of just always, having issues with how I look, never feeling comfortable in my own skin. I've been super athletic, played all the sports, done the high-end Army things, been able to do crazy stuff. And then I've been really obese. And I don't think at any point in time I was ever happy, but I don't think that it correlated either. I don't think that has anything to do with weight. I think that conversations like this where we sit down and we force these subjects out, I think these were probably something that were much more common among people years ago when we didn't have our devices in our hands to be able to talk to each other instantaneously. Like we actually would sit around and have a drink after dinner and have these conversations and actually go deep on things.
Probably since the third grade, I have never been comfortable with my body, and now that I have big girl adult money, I'm doing things to change myself into a way that I think I will feel my best. And there was never an appropriate time where this was going to come up, or I thought maybe it would earlier, and I don't want to feel like I'm hiding it from anyone watching. But I've been on a weight loss GLP-1 medication for the last 2 years. I've been on a semaglutide blend from a med spa here in Omaha, and I've lost 60 pounds. And I am happy with that because I feel better, my back doesn't hurt, which I appreciate. One of the most vulnerable things that someone can talk about is their weight and how it makes you feel. I'm worried that I will never be satisfied. I've done the laser hair removal to get rid of my...
And to say proud but never satisfied does not mean that I do not like the way that I look. I'm content with the way that I look. I like the way that I look, but I'm just a person who strives for self-improvement. It's like a game, I don't know.
Hair. I'm on a weight loss medication to make myself look thinner. Also, it makes me feel better. And I pay for these things with my own money that I work very hard for. So it's hard to be on the body acceptance side when I'm so accepting of other people's bodies. Just because it's not the first thing I notice about somebody at all. I truly just think that the best things about people are what's on the inside, and I wish I could see that a little bit more in myself. Again, I probably need therapy, but I wanted to be honest with you guys because I have been losing.
I think something that you could practice to help not form intense judgments of a person right away is, I don't know, I think this may just be a me thing. I like to compare and contrast, but anytime I see people my brain automatically goes to like, oh my God, who do they look like? Or they have eyes that remind me of this person I know, or, you know, ear shape that reminds me of that person I know. And I think sometimes that can give you a little bit more, I don't know, empathy and patience for certain people.
For about 2 years now on a Ozempic blend.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for sharing that, and thanks for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting for me because, like you said, like I will be the first person to accept anyone as they are and not focus on someone's body. But for me, it's not necessarily that I don't love my body or anything like that. It's that I struggle with like the happiness of being happy with my body. I think it's fine for me to accept my body and be neutral without having to be positive about it. So that's where I disagree with that. I feel neutral about my body, and that's okay for me.
I think it was Terry Crews said it best, happy, never satisfied. I like that mentality personally. I've changed my happiness. It doesn't no longer comes from my body, but the work I'm putting in. Like, am I at least trying? Am I at least putting effort in? Can I be happy with that? And yeah,
I like that, happy but never satisfied.
I can. Do I make my weight? No, but am I trying? I am trying. So my happiness is more derived from that. Satisfied? No, I'm not satisfied. But I'll also never be satisfied. And I'm okay with that because I know that's what's going to keep me driving, pushing to achieve more. And I take that aspect to every other aspect of my life too.
This has been another episode of
That's right, you guys. I mean, just, you know, try to be good at whatever you do.
Counterpoint. I want to thank you guys for watching. Let us know what you guys think. We have a comment section below. Tell us what.
Well, yeah, I thought that was super interesting. I enjoyed that conversation. It was very cordial. I think middle ground was found. I think that perspectives were recognized, and yeah, I thought that was a good watch. I thought that was a fun, insightful. I don't think I yawned one time. Please let me know what you guys think. Any of your thoughts down below. I'd love reading what you guys have to say. Y'all are so funny, super insightful too. I mean, seriously, the stuff that y'all write is just crazy. But I think that is all I got to say, you guys. I hope y'all are having a good one. Make sure you do something today you'll be thankful for tomorrow. Set yourself up for success. All right, you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Love you. See you. Bye. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Nothing is meant to be taken seriously at all. I'm just sharing my own opinions, not facts, off publicly accessible information first made public by the public figure. Please do not go to these people's channels and leave mean-spirited, negative, discouraging, or disparaging comments for entertainment purposes only.